Welcome back to Easy Talks, the podcast where we talk about all things English learning. I'm your host Maya, and today I have a really special guest. Someone who went from being completely terrified of speaking English to actually teaching it. Please welcome Daniel.
Hey Maya, thanks for having me. And yeah, terrified is, honestly, an understatement. I used to break into a sweat just ordering coffee in English.
Okay, so let's start there. Where does that fear actually come from? Because I think so many listeners feel this and they don't even know why.
Right, so for me, and I think for most people, it wasn't really about English. It was about judgment. I was scared people would laugh at my accent. Or that I'd say something grammatically wrong and look stupid. And when you grow up in a culture where making mistakes is embarrassing, that fear gets really amplified.
That's such a good point. It's less about the language and more about the ego, right? The fear of looking foolish.
Exactly. And here's the thing nobody tells you, native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. Every single day, they just don't care, and that's the mindset shift that changed everything for me.
So how did you actually make that shift? Because knowing something in your head and feeling it are two very different things.
Totally. So the first thing that helped me was what I call low-stakes practice. Instead of jumping into a big presentation or a job interview, I started with tiny interactions. Like asking for directions even when I already knew the way. Or chatting with a cashier. Just 30-second conversations where nothing was on the line.
I love that. Get the reps in without the pressure.
Exactly. It's like going to the gym. You don't start by lifting the heaviest weight. You build up, and those small wins, when someone understood me, when I got a smile back, those moments slowly replaced the fear with confidence.
What about people who don't have those opportunities? Maybe they live somewhere where they don't hear much English around them?
Great question. So this is where technology is genuinely a game changer. There are apps, language exchange platforms like Tandem or HelloTalk, where you can find a native speaker who wants to learn your language while you practice English. You're helping each other, so there's zero pressure.
Oh, that's such a good dynamic. You're equals in that situation.
Completely. And even if you're not ready for live conversation, you can start by just talking to yourself. Narrate your day in English. Describe what you're cooking, what you're watching. It sounds silly, but it warms up the muscle.
The talking to yourself method. I've heard this from so many language learners. There's no audience, so there's no fear.
And you start hearing your own voice in English, which is huge. A lot of people are shocked by how their voice sounds in another language and it throws them off. So the more familiar it becomes, the more natural it feels.
Let's talk about accent for a second, because I know that's a big one. People are really self-conscious about their accent.
Oh, this is my favorite topic to bust myths about. Your accent is not a mistake. It is literally your identity. It tells people where you're from, it's part of your story. The goal of learning English is not to sound American or British, it's to be understood. And those are two very different goals.
That's such a freeing way to think about it.
And honestly, people find accents charming. I've had so many conversations that started because someone was curious about where I was from. My accent opened doors, it didn't close them.
Okay, so for someone listening right now who is at ground zero, totally scared, maybe knows some English but has never really spoken it, what is the one thing you'd tell them to do today?
Just say one thing out loud in English before the day is over. It doesn't have to be to another person. It could be reading a headline out loud. Or saying, "Good morning," to your mirror. One thing. Because starting is always the hardest part, and once you've started, even in the tiniest way, you've already beaten the fear.
I love that. One thing. That's so doable.
And then tomorrow, say two things.
And before you know it, you're on a podcast. Daniel, this has been so inspiring. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maya. And to everyone listening, you've got this. Seriously.
That's all for today's episode of Easy Talks. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the only bad English is the English you never tried. See you next week.